Joining me now is someone who understands that region better than most. Kurt Volker is the former ambassador to NATO, and he is also a former U.S. Special Representative for Ukraine negotiations. Ambassador, welcome back. Great to see you.
Thank you. Great to be with you.
I'm going to pose the question to you that I posed to Matt a moment ago. Do you think Russia will eventually own up to this if it's confirmed that they were responsible?
Yeah, absolutely not. They are going to lie and obfuscate, just as he said. They'll try to blame others. They will try to make themselves look like victims, and they will try to make themselves look like it is still safe to have aviation in Russia because they want to maintain this fiction that their war against Ukraine is not really a war and doesn't really impact Russia.
If true, this is not the first time Russia has shot down a civilian airliner. Matt mentioned it happened in 2014 when Russian forces shot down the Malaysian Airlines flight, suspected of being a Ukrainian aircraft. Any repercussions that Russia could face moving forward?
Yeah, I don't think that there are going to be direct repercussions here because you're not going to have any kind of definitive case made about this shootdown. The Russians, the Azerbaijanis, the Kazakhs, they all share an interest in just burying this and not making any official comments and withholding any information from the ICAO or from other governments that would make a definitive case for how Russia shot this down. I think the consequences for Russia really will be played out on the battlefields. If they lose the war in Ukraine, as we certainly hope that they do, then I think you're going to see some change in Russia, and I think you'll start seeing some accountability. But as long as Putin is in power and as long as he is waging this war actively, they're going to put a blanket over any information that is adverse and continue to blame others and not face any accountability.
Yeah, speaking of waging that war actively, Russia's war with Ukraine is approaching its 3-year mark. Russia has reportedly made major advances in seizing territory this year. You and I have actually talked about this. Do you see an endpoint on the horizon, Ambassador? How do you predict this ends?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to highlight for your listeners that Russia has had a very busy Christmas holiday here, shooting down this Azerbaijani airliner, launching a massive missile and drone strike against Kyiv, and somebody cut an undersea internet cable in the Baltic Sea just now. So there's a lot been going on while we have been celebrating Christmas. That being said, I am fairly optimistic about 2025 seeing some kind of stabilization in the conflict. There's a couple reasons for that. One of them is that Russia's economy is in far worse shape than people realize, and I think they're going to start to recognize that there are costs to Russia here. And that is particularly true when you get to financial transactions and the energy sector, and that's going to escalate. Second, I think they are looking at Trump coming to office and insisting that there be an end to the fighting. And so I think some of the escalation that we see during this transition is actually evidence that the Russians themselves are expecting to have to wind down next year. And so I do see some reasons for optimism.
How do you think that conversation with Putin and then President Trump will go?
I think he will call Putin and say, end the war. Do it now. Do it right away. Just stop the war. Anything else we can talk about, but stop the war. And Putin's going to say no. Putin's going to say, no, we can't have a ceasefire. We have to keep fighting. We are owed more territory in Ukraine than we currently control. We need to take that. And we have demands on you, the United States, on NATO, on other countries. And I don't think Trump is going to like that very much. I think he is hoping that he can actually end the carnage, as he says, stop the carnage. And Putin is going to be resisting that. And I think that's going to cause the U.S. and other Western allies to continue to support Ukraine. And it's going to actually confront Putin with facts on the ground that will cause him to have to reconsider.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.